How do you know what it is that God wants you to do in your life? How do you know what God's will is? This is something I struggled with a lot when I was younger, trying to know what it is that I was supposed to do with my life and what it is that I was meant to be, right? So here's the tricky part. You can say, well, maybe I have to pray about it. Maybe I have to figure out what it is that God wants because he's going to come to me in a vision and he's going to tell me something like a divine intervention of some type so that I can know what to do. Or maybe I have to go on a long journey and I have to travel the world and I have to go talk to some sage on a mountaintop to be able to find out what it is that God wants me to do. None of that is it. That's not how it works. And this is a topic that I have found very few people know how to give an answer on because it's something they don't understand. This is a very subtle topic. So, to begin with, how do you know what it is that you're supposed to do with your life? Let's say it's not even God is directing you in life. Let's say you're an atheist, or let's say that you just want to know what's the best thing for you to do, whether it's a career, who to marry, not get married, whatever, day to day, even the little things. This is how you start. One, you have to look at where it is you're at, right? That will give you your first limitations, what you're even capable of doing. For example, let's say you're born very short and you're very tiny, or let's just say something like 5 foot or whatever. Well, it's probably not God's will for you to be an NBA player or, I don't know, play volleyball, something that's for tall people. The other, or the next thing, is what time are you born in, right? Are you born in a time that is maybe economically struggling or a time of war, right? In that scenario, you probably have to deal with those things. Well, there would be maybe a need for you to be someone who creates a business that helps people in that environment, providing basic services, or maybe being a farmer that provides food. Or if it's a war, maybe you go and you be a soldier because your country needs to be defended, or your family needs defended, or learn how to be a peacemaker, right? These are just some general things. And those times you wouldn't try to, I don't know, during a economic, famine or something like that, try to necessarily be an artist who is going to try and create a new form of art completely and make some abstract paintings. It's probably not going to work that well. Maybe you could do that, but that's probably not it. The whole premise, right, that I'm starting off with here, I'm trying to illustrate is the will of God, or what you need to do with your life, is right in front of you. It's not some magical, elusive message that has some deep secret, unknown type of mission that you have to wait to receive. You're being told every single day what you should be doing with your life, your mission, whatever. Now, it can get a little confusing because people don't even know what life is. They don't even know what it is that you should be doing totally with your life, right? And that can make it a little tricky too, because you have one group of people who are, let's say, the Christians, right? And you're supposed to be going out and doing God's mission. You're supposed to be proselytizing, or you're supposed to be spreading the gospel. And then you also have the Muslims. They're going to say the same thing about Islam. They're going to say, you have to do this. This is your mission. Then you've got the spiritualist, or you have kind of like the left-hand path. They're saying that you're supposed to find the truth for you and explore. So it gets a little confusing because there's all these different groups telling you what to do. And hell, You're even here listening to me trying to figure out what you should do based off of what I'm telling you to do. So the whole point here is, at the end of the day, you must figure out for yourself. Now, there's obviously something you should be doing, right? And many people will tell you many different things about what you should be doing. And the thing is, you can't listen to all of them. You can't do all the things that all these different people are telling you to do, because they are in conflict with one another, right? So you have to have this discernment of what is and what isn't. And really, one of the best ways to start with is that you have to start from first principles, the very basics, or the very simplest of things, which is what I just started off with, was talking about your environment and who you are. The tools that are available to you will give you the indicators as to what it is that you should be doing with your life. There was a good book. It was Decision Making in the Will of God. I read it as a kid. It was a theological book, and they talked about how basically what you have to do is you just have to get going, and you have to start. And from there, the way will be revealed to you as you move. You don't have to start out perfectly, but you at least have to start moving and doing something. Now, there's a lot of other things in this book I don't necessarily agree with, but that one beginning premise started shaping my perspective on this, right? And when you dig deeper into all of it, you can come to this idea of that, well, if God has a mission or a purpose for me in life, right? The first thing is that mission or purpose falls within certain parameters or rules of a game to begin with, right? So let's say you played a board game like Monopoly or Life or something like that. You could say, well, my mission in Monopoly is to own Boardwalk or something like that, right? Okay, maybe that's it. But within that board game, there are still rules you have to play by, right? You still have to play the game of Monopoly, the rules of Monopoly. And the same thing applies for life, right? So to begin with, in this life, first principles, you could start with very basic things, survival. You are going to have to provide yourself food, shelter, necessities. You're going to have to learn how to interact with people. You're going to have to learn how to exist in the culture and in the society that you are in, right? With that being said, you need to learn how to navigate those things and follow those rules. So, to begin with, some of the very first indicators are, in this reality, you must learn the rules before you can understand your purpose. This is key. You must understand the generalized rules. All right? So, to begin with, many religions, they have their foundational or their core tenets, their canon, right? Same with other sciences or whatever. There's these laws of the universe. You could start with the most famous, and that is the Ten Commandments, which is a pretty good place to start. It's very good. So you could say that God's will for you is to obey him, or the universe's rules, or to obey the laws of the universe in order to find what your purpose is. You can only, in order to be in true alignment with good or God or truth, do it through the system that is put in place already, the rules. This would mean, like the Ten Commandments, for example, God's purpose for you, primarily, first and foremost, is to follow the law. So the first is, the very simple ones is do not bear false witness, do not murder, do not steal, do not have idolatry, or all of these things, right? So that very first thing, if let's take a step back and let's make it not religious. You have the laws of the universe, how things work. Maybe you talk about game theory. Game theory is how people interact with each other within systems. And you have the tit for tat system, where if I interact with you and you do something good to me, I in turn do something good for you. But if you end up doing something bad to me, then I return that and I do something bad back to you. And then we start over after we have that interaction, and I then offer to do good again to you. And you repeat this cycle, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is there is these basic systems that you must first follow in life in order to be on the right track, in order to even discover what your purpose is, right? So you have the laws of the universe. You would first, in your day-to-day life, follow these laws. So let's start with one. Let's make it honesty. Honesty is your best policy, right? So in your day-to-day, what you would do is you would do your very best, no matter the circumstances, to always be honest and not tell a lie, right? That's a very easy one for almost every religion or philosophy to follow. Tell the truth, okay? Now, on your route or on your path, as you're telling the truth in life, that will both limit your options because you can't tell lies. So that closes down certain opportunities, and at the same time, open certain opportunities that only are available when you tell the truth, right? Like, if I always tell the truth, then that means that I'm going to have to follow certain commitments with other people. I am going to end up doing certain actions because if I want to make a deal with another human, right, and I only tell the truth, that means that they're only going to interact with me in a certain way, and because they're working with me in that certain way, that limits kind of my options. So what we've done now is we've, at least in figuring out our purpose, put some handrails up, or got like kind of like guardrails in our path. We have our left and right limitations. The first thing is we follow what it is that is the rules. Okay, now within that, here's what's also interesting. In your day to day, if you have a set of rules, right, laws, that then infers, then you next will get a set of principles. You will get a set of principles as to how to live. Because in order to be congruent with these laws or rules that you live by, it then forces you to start living certain habits or rituals in your day. It forces you, if I'm going to be someone who is honest, right, I have to position myself to be an honest person. Okay. So as an honest person, that means that in order to achieve my basic survival functions, I have to learn how to have, let's say, good work ethic, or I have to learn how to be someone who is diligent at something. Because in order to accomplish my basic necessities or whatever in life, right, and with the constraint of being honest, I have to learn how to exchange things fairly. Maybe your labor for money or something like that. So you have to learn how to then wake up on time, and you have to learn how to learn new skills and all this stuff. Very quickly, your life begins to become shaped because you are starting to follow the rules and laws in the universe, and you're starting to unfold what your purpose is. And then next is also, how we talked before, you're going to have your environmental factors, like the time you're born in, the place you're born in, the language you speak, all these things. They are going to narrow down even more what it is that your purpose is, right? Like if I spoke Japanese as my primary language, it's probably a lot less likely that I'm going to be a US diplomat who goes to the UN and speaks on behalf of the United States. That probably is not my life purpose because I'm born in Japan speaking Japanese. That would be weird. That's an extreme kind of weird example, but it's to illustrate a point that your environment dictates your purpose, right? Also, other things like if you have some type of health issue, like let's say you, I don't know, were crippled or something like that. That might limit your potential future of being some type of athlete. There's many, many examples. Or you're blind, right? Then you're probably not going to do, you're not going to be probably a crane operator if you're blind. That would be a bad job for you. So all these things, right? And now with the caveat of, some people would say, well, maybe God has some special mission for this person, even though they're blind, and they have to be a crane operator, and they have to do this because it's to prove some point. Well, if that was the case, there would be some divine intervention that we talked about earlier, where God is actually going to come down and he's going to specifically tell them, you will be a crane operator, right? Even though you're blind, to show something to the people. That's I'm being really silly right there. That's just to point out. You don't have any other proof to go by that you should do something outlandish unless there was some type of direct message given to you to do that, right? You have to go off of the information you're given and the signs and signals that are put in front of you and learn how to interpret them. So, with that all being said, as you narrow this all down in your day to day, you obviously have to be a human who survives. You have to take and account for what are the rules you're playing by, and then it shapes what it is that your principles are going to be in life, which most are really universal. They talk about good characteristics or virtues to live by, having, and there's different virtues, but from there, really what begins happening is it's almost like now you have you're almost at like an employment office, and you know how you go to an employment office and you say, okay, so I'm looking for a job. What is it that is available? And based off the city you live in and your resume and all these things, right? They're going to say, well, based off of what's available right now, all of your past experience, et cetera, these are the 5 jobs you would have available. Well, that's kind of the same thing when it comes to finding your purpose in life, is that what is going to happen is that based off of all of your circumstances, there'll be something like a few choices that are available. And then you would say, well, I still want to do the right thing. You're going to make it real complicated on yourself. I have to pick the right one because I have to do what it is that God wants, right? Okay, so from there, right, in those moments, this is where it starts to get a little spooky or a little bit interesting. And I've noticed this in life. There will be signs. And you can take this as a spiritual thing, or you can take it as coincidental thing, right? But here's what will happen. I've seen this. You will be tested and you will be given the opportunity to prove yourself in those moments when it comes to picking the thing that you should be or do. Here are some examples, right? You would oftentimes in life, when finding your purpose or whatever, have odd things pop up right in front of you. Let's make it simple. Maybe one day you are driving down the road. This is perfect. And you see someone on the side of the road with a flat tire, right? And you say to yourself, someone should help them. That's like an old lady who has a flat tire. She needs help getting it changed or something like that, right? That is an opportunity to do what it is you should do, right? That is a moment where you are given a chance to do what is right. It's a test. Do you stop and pull over and help the old lady fix the tire? Or do you go about your day and focus on whatever, right? And you can argue, well, maybe she should have, it's her fault. She should have been more prepared and all this stuff. But the point is if you're living by your principles and you're living by these virtues that you're supposed to, and you would have to follow your own criteria, and you'd have to pull over and you'd have to help the lady, right? The same thing applies, right? When picking your purpose in the bigger sense, and you have, let's say, those few couple options left, right? And you have those few things to pick from. Maybe it's 2, 3, 5 options, picking your purpose in life. You need to say, what is the thing that is in the most alignment with my virtues, my purpose, my rules I live by, and what are the ones that I have a duty to move towards out of the things that I could do in life, whether it's being an engineer, or maybe you want to be a, I don't know, a mechanic or a school teacher or whatever, right? You would look at what it is you have available or the tools at your disposal. Like, let's say if I am really good with people, would be an example, and I have a lot of patience, and there's, I could do a lot with kids as one example. I would then, and I have the opportunity to be a teacher, right? Or something like that. And it fits within all of the rules that I live by. And I know that I could do it better than others. Then that is the thing that is your purpose. That's it. You have just discovered your purpose based off of the need that arises. That is what you are to do in life. The path unfolds itself in front of you. All you have to do is day to day try to follow the universal laws and rules, right? That are always relevant. And as you make decisions, it will shape you, and you will become shaped into this thing. Because as you try to follow the rules, as you try to do the things that you're required, it will force you to learn certain things. It will force you to turn into a certain person, and you will have gained skills along the way. And those skills will then infer what you're supposed to do. And with all those new skills you learn, those new things that you accomplish, it will turn you into a person that is one of the few people capable of doing the thing that needs done when the time arises. Right? So, this is how you find your purpose. This is how you find what it is you're supposed to do. It doesn't, like we said earlier, come in a dream in the middle of the night as a message from an angel what you're supposed to do. It could. I'm not saying that it couldn't. If that does happen, then certainly follow whatever that angel told you to do, or that other spiritual being, whoever it is. I don't want to get in the way of that. Make sure you're not crazy, though. Make sure it's actually some divine intervention if you really think it is. But for the rest of us, this is how you find the will of God. This took me a long time to figure out. I could not get straight answers. Religious people, etc., they don't know. They give very, very Fruit Loop answers. And it's very touchy-feely. It's just whatever feels right, you do that thing. I was unsatisfied with that answer. And I took deeper, longer time to actually figure it out. So, with that all being said, that is the major thing I have to share with you all today. If this is something that is helpful to you, or if it is something that you want to know more about, or if you want some guidance, because this one for young people is especially something that tugs on them, especially like if you're going to college or something too. Ask me if you have any questions and helping try to figure this out. And you can probably point out to me where I wasn't clear enough or how I could explain this better if I help guide you a little bit on it. But that's it for today. I appreciate you all. Have a good one. Take care.